Good morning, good morning. I am Nicola Dawkins, founder of the Purpose Platform, and this is your Daily Dev Part 5. So it's our last Daily Dev of the week, and today I want to center and focus our Daily Dev around patience, but one of which being patience is one of the 9 spiritual fruits. So I just wanted to go through the 9 spiritual fruits and then focus particularly on patience today. So you guys already know by now, I have this written down for y'all. So the 9 spiritual fruits is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And that is in the book of Galatians 5:22-23. So I found, I actually learned about these qualities and these 9 spiritual fruits through a book called God's Power to Change Your Life. And that's actually a very powerful book. I would recommend definitely reading it because it breaks down each one of the 9 spiritual fruits in each chapter and just sort of gives you, it's written by Rick Warren, he's a pastor, and it gives you the best ways that you can practice these 9 spiritual fruits throughout your life. And I will say it actually has changed my life too. So that's just a little gem for you guys. If you have the time to look for that book, great. But I want to focus today particularly on patience, because patience is something that we all need in many different areas of our life, but it is something that is difficult to action and to practice a lot of the times. And as far as God is concerned, God is a God of promises. Whether that be a direct promise to us or a promise through his word, he is a God of promises. One thing about God's promises is we can't put a time on it. It might happen immediately, it might happen in 5 years, it might happen in 10 years. And what's required of us is faith, like we discussed earlier this week, trust and patience. And I find that the patience part is the most difficult part, because whilst we are waiting for God to deliver what he's promised us, it's often we face these trials or tribulations or setbacks that make us doubt as to whether he's going to deliver on his promise or not. A reference in the Bible that I find ties in really well with patience is Abraham's story. God promised Abraham in the book of Genesis, I think it's Genesis 12, that he would be the father of many nations. And it was 100 years before Abraham had his first child with Sarah. Sarah wasn't showing any signs of pregnancy. And it was really looking like, is God really going to come through on his promise? You know, am I going to be the father of many nations? It wasn't really making sense in reality. But by trusting and having faith in God and being patient, God delivered on his word. In terms of regular normal life, as I was reading the book that I referred to earlier on in this devotion, I took it upon myself to practice each one of these spiritual fruits at a different point in life. And when I was practicing patience, it's funny because you can actually apply patience to your life in things that are everyday activities where you don't even notice you're being impatient. So I was consciously practicing patience one day, and I was driving. And if you're a driver, you know, if you're a driver like me, sometimes there might be traffic. It might be a 2-lane road and there's a lot of traffic. And I'm very guilty of going into the right lane, waiting for the lights to change, and then cutting back into the left. Hate me if you need to. But it's just one of my really terrible traits, basically, a bad habit that I have. And when I was consciously practicing patience, and I had that at the forefront of my mind, I was driving and there was heaps of traffic in the left lane, and the left lane is where I needed to be. And I actually sat in the traffic in the left lane and waited. And I'm pretty sure I missed the light too, so I had to wait like twice. But I was just consciously practicing patience, because when you practice patience in the small things in your life, it makes it slightly easier to wait for the larger things in your life and the promises from God. So that's just an example of where we can practice patience. And it's just also highlighting that things don't always happen immediately. So I just want to leave you guys with that word today to consciously practice patience in your everyday life. And it's difficult because sometimes we don't even need to be patient. Why should we sit in the traffic when we know we can just quickly scoot over into the right lane, cut back in? But when we practice patience in our everyday life and in our smaller activities, we are able to practice patience when it comes to God's promises, our goals, the larger things in life, because it becomes something we're used to and accustomed to. So that is the word that I wanted to leave you with today. Patience. The reference came from the 9 spiritual fruits, which is Galatians 5:22-23, and Abraham's story is in the book of Genesis 12. And that's something you can tap into. I think there's a few references in the Bible that ties into patience, and there's a story of Job as well. So even if I can't remember if it was in my interview or in an earlier devotion, but if you're looking for particular stories or some inspiration and you're not a big Bible reader, or you haven't read the Bible back to front just like me, Google is your best friend. Have a Google of stories where people have had to practice patience in the Bible, or where can I demonstrate love in the Bible. And it's so easy to find this information, and then it's just a case of putting it into practice in your everyday life, which then makes it easier to practice in your spiritual life. But I've been Nicola Dawkins. It's been a pleasure delivering your daily devs this week. Have a lovely Friday, have a lovely weekend, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Have a good day. Bye.